Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Zoom video. We're going to be talking about Chapter 9, Dictionaries and Sets, mainly dictionaries. And I'll give you some examples, and hopefully that will help you with the material. So a dictionary is another type of Python data structure. It is similar to a list, and that can cause some confusion when students are using dictionaries and lists, thinking they're the same because they can look the same, but they're really not. They have a different purpose. A list is a way to store a sequence of data from basically point A to point B to point C, etc. And that's indexed by number. So it has a strict sequence to it. So an item in a list is after a previous item. And it's always going to be that way unless you explicitly change it. Dictionary doesn't have an ordering to it. Okay, a dictionary doesn't have, you know, this thing comes before this other thing. And so that's kind of important to know that you can't. It may seem like you can because it might work, but in general, you can't depend upon the order of things. A list has a single item for each slot in the list. Okay, and that can be anything. It could be a string or a number or an object or another list. Whereas a dictionary can group many things together. Dictionaries are organized by something called a key, not an integer, not a number like a list. You have, you know, the index is a number from 0 to n. N is the size of the list, the length of the list. A dictionary uses something called a key to get at the information. Okay. And the key can be anything really. It's usually a string, but it can be other things. And we'll talk about that just a bit here. So here's an example, looking at the notes, here's an example of a dictionary. And instead of square brackets, it uses curly brackets. And each item in the dictionary consists of a key and a value. Okay, so in this particular instance of a dictionary, the keys are strings and the values are either strings or numbers. Okay, they're separated by commas, so there's a very specific structure to a list. You have the key. Well, first of all, you have the starting curly bracket. Then you have the key, which again is often a string. It doesn't have to be. Then you have a colon, and then you have the value. Okay, and in this case, the value is a string. So the key is name, and the value is Alice. The age is a key, another key, which has a value of 35. City is a key whose value is Cedar Rapids. State is a key whose value is Iowa. So I think you can see from this dictionary here, this is a dictionary that stores information about an individual. Okay, the name, age, city, and state where they live. And you can add as many of these key value pairs to your dictionary as you want. So the value can be anything, you know, any kind of object in Python. So here's another example of a dictionary called students, and it consists of each entry in the dictionary consists of the key and the value, which happens to be another dictionary. Okay, so for the students dictionary, we have keys And this is an example that Kirkwood might use if you were writing a program for Kirkwood where we use the K number to identify the student. So we have the K number, and the value that's associated with that key is a dictionary that has information about that particular student. So this is convenient because if, let's say you need to look up information about a student, usually you'll get the K number. So you can look up entries in a dictionary using the key and get the value, and the value is the things about that student, which is the name, age, city, and state, and you could add as many things as you wanted. So that's one of the advantages of dictionaries, is that you can look things up. If you know the key, then you can look up the information about that entity. So the key is usually something that describes the thing that you're storing, like the name of the student, could be the K number, it could be the social security number, it could be a VIN number for a car, it could be any kind of number that uniquely identifies something. And so that makes it easy when you need to search for something, if you know the key that's associated with the thing that you need. Okay, so I'll give you some examples in PyCharm in a second here, but to create a dictionary from scratch, there's different ways you can do it. Like a list, you have to create it before you can add something to it. And the way that you create an empty dictionary is with empty curly brackets. And then you can add entries into the dictionary using this notation, which is where it gets a little confusing, because this looks a lot like a dictionary, because we're using the square brackets to find an element in the dictionary. Whereas with the list, you'd use numbers, strictly numbers. Okay, you can't index by anything but a number. With a dictionary, you're using the keys that you've inserted. So let's do an example here. Let's have an example. Let's say we have a dictionary that we want to store maybe information about dogs. Okay, so there's an empty dictionary, and we want to add some key value pairs here. And so we'll say breed equals poodle. Okay, now if we print this, you can see that this is the dictionary that we have. And it looks like I misspelled breed there. And so it's got a single key value pair. The key is named breed and the value is poodle. So we can keep adding things. Actually, this is more like a single dog. Color equals black. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding information about this particular dog. Weight equals 50 and name equals what's a good name for a dog? Rex. Okay. So let's run this program, and you can see here's our dictionary that we've created, and each item, each key value pair is separated by a comma. Okay, and our keys are all strings and our values are either a string or a name, but the value could be anything. It could be a floating point number. It could be a list. I don't know, dog. What would make sense for a list? I don't know, nicknames. So we have, our dog has a lot of nicknames like Sleepy, Barky, obviously just making these up here, Jumpy, anything like my dog that would describe this dog. And we'll run it again. So now our dictionary has an item that has a key value pair where the value happens to be a dictionary. So dictionaries are very flexible. You can store anything, any kind of information you need to. Okay, any amount of information you need to. Okay, so this is a dog. Now, generally, you know, when you're writing a program, you probably have multiple dogs. Like maybe this is a program that maybe you're writing a program for a veterinarian business or something like that. Well, you're obviously going to have a lot of dogs. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually put this, if we wanted to, we could make a list of dogs. Okay, we could make something called dog list. That's going to be a list, and we'll append dog into our list, and now we'll print our dog list. Okay, so now we have a list of dogs and a dog dictionaries essentially. So you can see we have a list, and then we have this curly bracket, and you know, let's make another dog. There's a dog. We'll call this dog 2. And we'll just change a couple of things here. Just so it's different, and then we'll. Okay, now we have a list that has 2 of these dogs. So now you can see we can store information about all of the dogs that we have or that were our patients in our vet business. And if we don't want to store these dogs in a list, we can store them in another dictionary. Okay, and so we could say we'll just call this dictionary dogs. Okay, so there's a dictionary, and we're going to add the dogs, and so maybe this wouldn't be the best way because dog names aren't unique, but we could store the dogs in our dictionary by name. Okay, so Rex is the first dog, and then let's add another one. Dog 2. Now we're going to print the dictionary. Okay, so now we have a dictionary that has other dictionaries. So we have Rex, and has all the information about Rex in this dictionary associated with it, which is did I do this right? And I did not. Sorry about that. Let's try it again. Okay, so we have an entry in our dictionary. The key is Rex, and it has all the information about Rex, including the breed, the color, the weight, the name, and the nicknames. So here's the advantage of this. Okay, so now when we have this, now when a customer comes in and says, I'm here for my appointment with my dog's name is Rex, then we can easily look up that information. Okay, simply by saying, okay, our dog's dictionary, and we want to look up the one called Rex, and that's going to print it out for us. Let's get rid of this one. So we only care about the Rex one. Okay, so now we've easily found we've easily found and located the record that corresponds to the dog named Rex. Okay, and so that, you know, we can use that as part of whatever, checking in the dog for their appointment. Okay, so let's go back to the notes. And again, this is just another example. This is a simple dictionary. There's two keys, two elements, two key value pairs. And this one, the key is name and the value is Emily. And this one, the key is age and the value is 8. And these are, even though when we create the dictionary, you know, it's in order, but that isn't necessarily the order that it's going to be stored in. So we can't depend upon the order. We have to depend upon the names of the keys to get things back. Okay, if we want if we want to get the key, if we want to get the value that we want, we have to have the name of the key. So here's an example that I showed you just in PyCharm, where we have a dictionary called student, and we want the value that is associated with the key called name right here, and that's Emily. And so now we're pulling out the value associated with the key name age, which is 7. Here's another way of getting a value, but via key with the get function. So let's do this. Print dogs.get Sammy. So now we're printing out the information about the dog named Sammy using the get command. Okay. So like lists, we often want to iterate through the entire dictionary, getting all of the things that are in that dictionary. And several different ways of doing this. So the first way here is we can say, so in this case, we have a dictionary called student. The keys, the .keys function will return a list of all of the keys in the dictionary. And from the key, we can get the value, just like I've already showed you here. So let's do that. And you don't have to use the word key. That's just a notation that kind of makes sense. But this value, this variable can be anything. Okay, so we're going to say for key and dog. First of all, let's just print the key. So we've previously defined a dictionary called dog. And let's iterate through that and print the. So you can see it prints out all the keys, the breed, color, weight, name, nicknames. So we can print the key, and when we can print, so if we index dog by the name of the key, that will give us the value. So now we have the key and the value that we're printing out here. Okay. Another way to do it is there's a function called items, which returns the key value pair as a tuple. We touched on tuples last week or a couple weeks ago. A tuple is like a list that you can't change, right? And a tuple is surrounded, instead of by square brackets, it's just regular parentheses like this. And so that's called a tuple. And from the tuple, we can get the information out of it as well, just by using the index notation. Okay. I think I'm going to create a Python console here, just so it's a little more interactive. All right, so I'm going to create a dictionary. I'm going to call it D equals, and it's just going to be a dictionary that contains letters of the alphabet and numbers. Okay, so I'll just do a few here. So for each letter of the alphabet, there's a number associated with it. Okay, so that's our dictionary. Okay, and so again, we can index the dictionary by the key name. If we try to do that with a key that doesn't exist, so let's say Z. Z is not in our dictionary. Going to get an exception called key error, and that's a pretty common exception that you'll probably find when you do these programs. Okay, but back to the loop. So I'm going to call this for key value in d.items. And I'm going to print key value, and you can see that it's returning a tuple for each key value. So for this tuple, the first item is the key, the second item is the value. So once we get that, okay, let's try that again. Instead of printing the key value, we're going to print, so again, this is like a list. So we'll print key value 0 and key value 1. There's 2 items in this list, and we index that by 0 and 1. And so now, this console is a little funky sometimes. Let's try this again. Key value 0 and key value 1. Okay, so now it printed out the key and the value by extracting them from the list using this notation. Okay. So we can delete items from dictionaries. This is similar to a list. So we use the keyword del and then the name of the dictionary and then one of the keys. Okay, instead of the index, like a list, which would be 0, 1, 2, etc., this is the name of the key. That will delete it from a dictionary. Dictionaries are mutable, like a list, so we can insert, we can delete, we can add items. You're not, again, you're not really inserting it into a certain order. You're just adding it. You're just adding a new key index or key value pair. But if you remember strings, we can't change. So once we have a string, we can't add a character in the middle of it. In order to do that, we have to create a brand new string. But lists are like dictionaries are changeable, so we can add things, delete things as much as we want. Okay. We already talked about nested dictionaries. So that just means that we have for each key in our dictionary, the value is another dictionary. And we could keep doing that as much as we wanted. We could nest dictionaries as deeply as we feel like doing. Okay. Here's an example. If we have a dictionary storing dictionaries, if we want to get at the value in the nested dictionary, we can use this notation. And this is again is similar to lists where we have a list inside of a list. So this first thing here is going to return the value associated with this key, K0345542, which is this. And since that happens to return a dictionary, okay, this is another dictionary, we can simply index that dictionary by name and that will return the value Alice. Okay. So it's very similar to lists. If you have a list that stores lists, it's a similar concept. You can just string together these kind of index notation here with the square brackets. Okay, I think I will skip that. So there's a bunch of functions associated with dictionaries, just like with lists. We've talked about a few of them. We talked about keys. We talked about items, which returns a key value pair as tuples. The values function actually returns all of the values in the dictionary. Okay. The min function returns the smallest key. And so if your index is a string, that's going to be the first, alphabetically the first key. If it's a number, it's going to be the smallest number. So we can go ahead and try that. Let's go back up here and let's print dog.min and see what we get. All right, what did I do wrong there? Oh, that's not a function on a dictionary. It's a built-in Python function. So sometimes I even forget some of these things. So it's min, and let's look at that again. It's min, and you just pass in the dictionary. Okay. So min of dog, what that is that it's going to return the key. All right, let's print that. The key, the minimum key, which is either alphabetically the first alphabetical string or the lowest number. Okay. So since breed, it comes first alphabetically. That's the key that's returned from the min function. And max would be the one that's alphabetically at the end, which would be, I think, weight. So let's see. Yep, it's weight. Okay, so we can copy an entire list by using the copy command. We can clear a list by the clear function. Update will change. We'll change the value of an item in the list to something else. Let's see. Update says, update looks more like an insertion function. Okay. Not sure why they call it update, but let's take a look at that. All right, so let's say we want to add another element to the dog dictionary. We want to add, I don't know, height. So we can say dog.insert. All right. What does this look like? Clearly, I don't use update very much because I don't know how it works. So what we want to do is we take our dictionary, call the update function, and then the key value pair. Okay, so update height, I don't know, 30 inches or something. We'll print it to see that something happened. Nope. Well, it looks like I need to research this update function because that doesn't work. You don't need to use that in any ways. Generally, what we would probably do is just say dog. So we can easily add new key value pairs like this. So we can say dog height equals 30. And so now we have a height item in the list. I'll have to look into update. I must have something wrong about that one. The length of a list or a dictionary is the number of key value pairs. Okay, so it's similar to a list, but each key value pair is considered a separate item. Whereas with a list, there's each indexable element is counted as one instead of, we don't have the concept of a key value pair. Okay, so pretty much is it for the notes. Let me see if so maybe a program we could do at the end of the chapter. Okay, I think I will stop there. If you have questions, if you are struggling with this chapter, which some students do, dictionaries can be confusing, especially since they're similar to lists but different. I think the homework questions, the programming problems are a little bit harder this week. So if you are struggling, let me know and I might maybe make another video to help. Remember that I've changed the due date because I'm late this week. I'm out of town and I just haven't had time to do the videos like I normally do. So the due date has been changed to April 18th, so it's slipping a week. So that will give you time to watch the video if you need help and or ask questions. And again, I think that the homework is a little bit more difficult this week than it usually is. So I'll give you a bit more time. So I'll call it quits from that from the video, and I will talk to you later. Bye.